we have some neighbors here and we have letters of correspondence, so we're going to let you speak instead of, and I'm sure most of you wrote the letters and that are here. So first, any correspondence, Mary, besides the three of them that we have, I believe?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Again, on a special meeting, we normally don't have public input, but we're happy to have anybody in front of us. So if just your name and record and refer to the letter would be great. If someone wants to start.
Well, are we gonna follow the agenda and do the minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Why don't you wait till you're on that item?
That's a good
Okay.
idea, because then it'll just be comments because of.
We have some housekeeping things. We
The
just have to
agenda
approve
item.
some minutes here. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we have minutes from April 29th. It was a special meeting. We did not approve these. I know they were a little bit behind there, but Mary has a copy there and you could see who was there and who was not. Someone like to make a motion on those minutes?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from our April 29th, 2025 meeting.
I second that.
Cynthia has a second. Any other discussion on special meetings for the April 29th? James, you were here and Will?
No, James was not here and I was not here. So we'll be
Okay. So you're going to abstain. So, all right. I'll try everybody's mind by saying aye.
Aye.
And is Karen on?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, great. So let the record show we have 2 abstentions and the rest yays. So we have May 20th. It's another board special meeting for May 20th. Does everybody have those minutes in front of you?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from our special meeting of May 20th, 2025 as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay. So is any other comments on that? And everybody sees who was there and who was not there? I think, James, you were not there, right? Everybody else was here? Okay. After everybody's mind, sing by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Consideration for minutes of June 10th. This was a regular scheduled meeting, June 10th.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve our meeting from June 10th, 2025 and for our regular scheduled meeting as presented.
I second that.
So any other discussion? Everybody sees who was there, who was not there. I think everybody was there except Bob Manfreda. Everybody's mind, sing by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, this won't take long. The K-9 vehicle. We talked about this in the Board of Selectmen meeting, right, Cynthia? We had some discussion on this. They feel that they need to have a K-9 car and they want to use one of their new ones, Matt, right? That's kind of the plan, right? With nothing changed over in the afternoon?
We got the 2 that you gave us and then one of those 2 we want.
Exactly. So I believe, Matt, do you know the numbers of 17 something and it's a little higher than the number because they want to, I'm sorry. Yeah. If you would. I know Mary.
And this is not in our packet, right? Or this number is in this one?
17.
Mary, we have do we have?
I have what the chief sent me on.
Yeah. It's here, John. It's under E1, I believe.
Yeah.
All right,
Those
just-
are- These are still the true numbers.
Yes. I'm sorry.
That updated email from the chief about what the difference between the, what's in the budget and the capital need.
Say it again.
Oh.
There was another email this afternoon?
The chief sent an email yesterday. I thought he sent it to, First Selectman Carter and myself about the part of it that needs to come from the board of, the CNR account.
Is this July?
Yeah, that's the total that we're
This
getting
is
ready to do.
17,862.
17.
Okay. Yeah,
Right.
good.
And that's the difference, so it's for it to be configured for K-9?
Right, that's the difference.
It's what it
The
is.
vehicles that we thought were going to be just normal
Yes.
cruisers are a different number than what's being presented.
Got it.
So in their budget, if you remember the budget we worked on, it was a $13,000 range.
Yes.
But this number is, they consider a trade-in value on it to go into the fit up of the car, but they're going to keep number 99. Is that?
Like that.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
And for 2,500 to 3,000 to run a dirt job or something like that, I guess it makes sense.
It's actually for just the canines because if any cars break down or need to be serviced, at least they have all the equipment in that car or
I agree, but if you need it for a dirt job, you'll
we
take
could
it. Right?
also use that and then we make the town money.
Okay, great.
And that total that you're looking at is 17?
17,862.51. And that is the fit up, everything new, apparently 7 years. You're not supposed to use that equipment for the safety of the dog and I guess overheating and all that. And it's about 25 to 3,000 to carry to keep the other car. If they traded the other car and Matt, you would have used some equipment off that? Is that why we're buying some extra
I
stuff?
believe all of the equipment in there was outdated and none of it was warranted. So
I mean, light bar accounts, the
those types of
Something,
items, yes.
yeah. All right, so does someone want to make a motion on that? James?
Motion approved.
17,862.51
Yep. All right.
for the
I'll say,
federal canine.
I second it, but is there more discussion?
Oh, no, if there was anything
I
anyone
was
would
gonna
add?
ask Karen if she had anything. to-
I'm sorry, oh, Karen, I see you now. Karen, do you have anything to add as the K-9 vehicle?
No,
But a service is great in Hawaii, huh?
no, I'm in Florida.
Florida, okay, good.
You must have relatives there, because I do. That's the only reason I ever go to Florida.
Yeah.
Actually, yes.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a
So part
second.
of James' motion is gonna come out of CNR account.
Right, it's
Oh, yeah.
come out of
Yes.
CNR.
Okay, second that.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, great. All right, guys, we appreciate you coming out.
Thank
I
you.
Appreciate what you do.
All dressed up. looking-
Yeah, the tan was
I
good.
know.
What you did, Steve?
You guys, y'all look great.
You all go to the same barbers, it looks good.
Take care, guys.
Same shit, same barber.
Mike's gets eaten, but
Take care.
they can't shoot me when I'm sitting here.
You're like Ronnie Dangerfield, just calm down.
All right, so that's it. All right, consideration of not to exceed $20,000 for a study for Colonial Drive. I see Eric here. Eric, you want to start off and let us
Yeah,
know what we're
sure.
doing? And
I don't know how much of the background you guys know, but this all started, after our August 18th, 2024 flood that affected us. And thankfully, we weren't as badly affected as some other towns around here, but it did affect a lot of people. And so after that, this all started with Dan Carter. He asked my department to look into all the drainage priority areas around town that we knew about or didn't know about, or having come up after that. I don't know if you're able to bring up the presentation or if you guys.
We have it right
we have this. Yep.
This is essentially. Sharon, I'll just want to cover a couple of the slides. I think it might be helpful. This is just the same copy of the presentation that I gave to the Board of Selectmen at the last meeting when they recommended this to you for this meeting. And that presentation went through every single one of these projects that we're looking at. But the one that we want to talk about today is the first priority one, which we've identified as the first priorities, the Colonial Drive drainage areas. So, yeah, that's good.
No, I don't think it's yet.
Eric, while we're waiting for that, are these in the
middle one
number
next to the
of
camera, right? That's the share.
how they were graded for?
On this second page.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. It is, yeah, I will answer that.
What document are you looking at, Nick? F2?
F1, I believe, Jim.
One.
So that.
Back on the first page, you see it?
I don't know if there's- Anyway.
Just go full screen. At the bottom right of the document, can't you go full screen? Oopsie. Weather report. Here you go. What? There's gotta be full screen somewhere.
Oh, you know what?
I don't
Might have to adjust. Part of
This
it.
is share screen, right?
Just Ronnie
Well, that's my person.
And that's fine. You just talk about it. Just turn it up.
Okay.
I mean, if no one else is talking. It sounds like. I love you. Okay.
And the problem with this is it's because it's the document that you're sharing. So when you hit escape for a second. Oh,
Oh, there you go.
Oh, we're getting there.
Stroll
Oh,
out.
there you go.
Yeah, that's-
We're getting there.
so.
Yeah.
You have to kind of.
You have to adjust what you're sharing. Not
Okay, you know what? I'll just focus on the second slide. Just go to the second. Just check the slide.
We have this in front of us. Right?
Okay.
Don't
All
we?
right,
Yeah,
that's fine.
that's right there. Yeah,
That's good.
but that's the second page, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
That's the back.
the back of the first.
page.
Yep, number two.
so, that's good enough. So just to kind of cover, you can see all those circles overlaid on the map of Bethel. Those are all the areas we identified. Some of them are bigger than others. It's really just has to do with, sort of the drainage shed area that's affecting it. But not necessarily correlated to how important it is necessarily. And we identified the top list there, those 7 areas are the priority areas, and the 5 at the bottom are less critical. So essentially what we did was we looked at a lot of different factors, but essentially I think the 2 main ones that kind of came into play on how we prioritized this was how significant we thought the drainage issues were, how controllable, in other words, how we could affect them. So you'll see Saxon Road is in the top list there. It's kind of an urgent, it's been an issue for a long time that I think a lot of people are aware of, but when we looked into it, and by the way, we brought on a drainage engineer, visited all these sites, took a preliminary look at them. So we have some preliminary feedback on that. That's another thing that we use. But in the case of Saxon Road, just to give an example, that's a case where there's really nothing to build like $1 million berm, but it doesn't really seem to be something that would be much bang for your buck. Really wouldn't do that much. Really, the best thing there would be to buy those properties, which are already in an area which is basically the creek there. So they were built in a flood zone. So it may not be the best example, but what I'm trying to say is that we looked at all these things from various lenses, and that's how we prioritize them. The other thing that's important, and it's in the slide deck at the very end, but it's not clear on the screen, is how much impact it would have. So, like for example, Saxon Road would only affect maybe 5 or 6 properties, whereas Colonial Drive would affect 10 or 20 properties. So that's sort of in a nutshell. If that makes sense. That's kind of the process we went through. We identified the areas. We hired a drainage engineer. We did a preliminary look at all these areas, got his feedback, came back to the drawing board, saw what were the pros and cons, tried to ship them out based on what we thought was priority, what was flexible, what was most urgent, and also how many people were affected. There's a couple of these locations that would only affect like 1 or 2 properties. Colonial Drive made it to the top because of its urgency, the length of time that it's been a problem, and also the number of people. So that's how it got to the top of our list, and that's sort of a summary of the process we went through to get to this point. So that's kind of a summary of the presentation we gave to the board of selectmen the last meeting. But to just come back to Colonial Drive now, this area has been an issue since the 1970s. There's been various temporary solutions that have been put in over the years, but the root of the problem really still exists. Down there. So we look at a map of the area. There's kind of a large basin shape in the topography of the land. The Colonial Drive is almost exactly in the middle. So these homes built in the low-lying areas have had drainage problems since at least the 70s. The whole drainage area is almost 74 acres. And all this water kind of channels down. If it doesn't go into the ground, anything that's on the streets or so forth would go into our drainage system. But there's also a lot of land area where it gets into the groundwater, it gets into streams across people's yards and so forth. And that's how it ends up on Colonial Drive.
Can I ask you a
Ultimately,
question about that area?
yeah, sure.
These houses were built in the 70s, 80s, when were they built?
Probably sixties or seventies.
Could you build there today? Or is this, we know more now, and that it wouldn't be buildable land today? Well,
I mean,
as
it
built, obviously if you've brought in a ton of fill or something.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really. I'm not really sure how that would play out.
Okay,
I
just
know that
curious.
this was built on fill. I know that there were creeks in the area. So.
Wasn't the creek moved to make room for the houses back then?
Well, I mean, what I'm saying.
Which,
if it was-
you know, no one did anything wrong, but it was-
Yeah,
Right?
There weren't the same regulations.
Right.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Alright.
I mean, I can tell you with an example like Saxon Road is pretty much unanimous agreement. Who looks at it that road wouldn't be close to that. Colonial Drive, I don't think is as clear cut.
Alright.
It is.
But if that land was here today and we wanted to put a development in there because we have wetlands now, they probably wouldn't let us move the stream, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I
Okay,
mean-
but I think that's,
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's what we're
Yeah,
at.
I would believe
Not that
that.
anybody did anything wrong in the seventies, right?
Probably.
right. We used to drink beer on a job site. Now you can't do that.
Some
you
of the
know?
houses were
can't?
built in the
Damn.
90s. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Some of the houses were built in the nineties.
way down at the cul-de-sac, huh? Yeah.
So you're saying this has been a problem since the 1970s?
Mhm.
When does it become a critical problem?
Well,
Well, I think let me try to explain this. So this area up here is pretty much almost like a bowl.
Oak Ridge and,
Top-
right. Yep.
Topographically, it's like a bowl, and this is, the bottom of the bowl is essentially right here.
Yeah.
It flows. You see these red lines are pipes. It flows essentially like this, and then takes a turn, takes another turn, and ultimately goes down into this body of water.
Mystery Pond, yeah.
I'm sorry, that's all closed piping, Eric?
The red is
Are those
closed
red
pipe.
lines closed piping
Yeah.
or open brooks?
No, they're all
Thank you.
closed pipe, yeah. Blue is an open flow pipe. This is a pond. This is like a channel that's sometimes dry, I think. This is, this is another pond. But yeah, red lines represent pipes, the drainage system. And these little white boxes, if you can see them, those are the catch basins on the road. So a pinch point has been identified here. But the reason we wanted to step back and look at the whole area, and the reason we want to do this study is because you could fix this pinch point here, and then you kind of release the floodgates, and then there could be a problem down here. We want to make sure that anything that's done here doesn't just then snag on something else down the line. So,
When you come out of Colonial, right, with hard pipe, come out of Colonial, then that pipe's got to get pretty deep to get down to Oak Ridge and make that turn down there.
this goes downhill pretty far.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but down Walnut Hill before it makes a turn, and I'm sorry, I don't know what that other dead end road is right there.
Oh, yes, this pipe is very flat, very, very.
Right,
flat.
but then the next pipe has to be pretty deep to get it all the way to make that turn right there, yeah?
I'm not
And
sure how,
pitch is okay, or
I mean, that's one of the things we're gonna look
that
at.
the study is gonna look at?
So
Well,
that's the point of doing the study.
My question was, when did it become critical?
Get in the conversation.
1973.
There's a reason why I'm asking this.
Yeah, no, we sent a letter, a brief explanation of the entire thing. Henrik Kissling, 9 Colonial Drive. And we sent the board a brief description. I couldn't go through the whole thing. You'd have 17 pages here. But we moved in June 30th of 1973 and found out it was a problem before we even moved in. Across from there and they were provided. So it's been a problem since then. We had some temporary fixes. If you read the letter that said, you'll see there were some temporary fixes. The town was involved. Frank Clark provided the pipe. We had an electrical engineering. Steiner, who was the builder, he went and provided the work to put the extra pipe in. So we had 2 pipes coming out of the pond. But right now, there's too much water coming into the pond and not enough going out of the pond. So it's either you stop the water going in or you increase the outflow.
right.
What Eric has been looking at is the outflow. That's been a problem. But another pipe or straightening some of these pipes out, and I see what he thinks about that. Straighten some of these pipes out, Yes, it was definitely, I mean, Matt Knickerbocker and his wife were up to their waist, in this last August 18th. So if you ever saw water run uphill on a driveway, it's physically impossible, but you could just see it creeping up the hill. And many of the houses have that thousands of dollars worth of damage.
Maybe I can.
The pinks on this are basically, it's my hand drawing, but the pinks are how many houses had water coming in their backyards or in their basements or in their family rooms. And it's been going on, off and on through all the years we've lived there. We have been, united the most senior members of neighbors on the street, and we've tried to, we don't have it quite as bad now, as long as the electricity holds, we have some pumps that'll take it out, but if not, we will be underwater in our basement. We have a colonial, many others have split level or low level, double level houses. And we've been trying to support the neighbors probably more because they are, I mean, this, I think, didn't Robin send you some pictures? And did they get it? Yeah, okay.
There's everything available to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We have
we've
all
seen,
copies.
we've seen
The
your,
pond literally overflowed to be our street at one point during last summer. And it was awful. It was just awful. And we've been trying so hard for so many years that we need help.
But to answer your question, what happened August 18th happened 3 or 4 times prior to that, back to 1973 and just before 70, because of inadequate drainage at the pond.
Happened twice in the past 4 years. There's a reason why I'm asking this question, because it, as much as I am for, and I will vote to approve this engineering study, the other engineering studies are going to need to be done for downtown Colbert, right? All the other ones, those are going to be separate, right? So downtown Colbert one, I didn't know this. I'm embarrassed because I was a state legislature, citizen leader, and apparently there was some state funding that was supposed to be granted, and then it was pulled. But no one, when I was a state rep, I was never made aware of this. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is there are funds out there. Recently, our state rep got money for a local charity that would have done 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah,
So why, not only the previous person elect, but the present person elect, who's been in office for a couple years, why is nobody suggesting?
well, we were. We had this all lined up for something called the FEMA BRIC grants, BRIC, Building Resilience and Communities, I think is what it stands for. We were applying for that, and that got pulled in March. So that program got shut down in March.
That's a federal program or a state program?
Federal program.
But what about the state DEP? Is that funding the state DEP?
That was, so we were working with the state, we were working with DEH, HMS, I think it's called. They were kind of working as a liaison on our behalf with FEMA to apply for those grants. So we went for the whole thing. We were applying because with the BRIC grants, you can do it a little bit at a time. So we said, this is our whole list of everything. We want it. Some of the grants are like, you have to have a whole set of construction plans, shovel ready, all in place. The good thing about the BRIC is everything, you can start from the beginning. So we had this list, we were working with them, and that got pulled in March. That's when we turned into this and we're looking for other things. We haven't found anything else this time that can cover this kind of study.
But you do need to ask that state legislative team, because if they know there is a chance to be played, they're gonna play it. And if they're getting money for a charity, God damn it, they should be able to get money for a study.
I mean, that'd be great. I didn't reach out to the legislator. I don't know if Dan is, I know Dan used to do it.
We all should.
Well, maybe reach out to the state senator and the rep, the current rep.
Everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
This
that's
is
just
real
something
money.
to do. I don't know.
We pay a lot of state taxes also.
Yeah.
Each one of us.
This is not a lot of money compared to what that study is gonna tell us to do. Where's that money gonna come from?
Right.
Well,
No, I'm
that-
asking.
that- we're asking- Yeah, where is it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure.
Cynthia, did you have something?
Yeah, I did, but it's all right.
Cynthia,
Oh, no, I just. Can I take my time?
take your
Have
time.
to go quickly. All right.
Yeah.
So a couple of questions. One is, yeah, I think it's a fair question to try to get as many resources as possible from the state, because I don't think federally, you know, if they pull a thing that the state is helping you get, then go back to them and they might have some ideas. But my question is, this is like $20,000 for the study for Colonial Drive, fair enough. And so you're saying that some of these grants, one of the requirements is to have it shovel ready and to have plans.
Yeah, there's
So-
other grants we could go for once we have.
Right, so my question is, I see the cost of these for the 4 projects, Colonial Drive is right at the top of the list. So what's the timeline between these in terms of that money that has to be spent for the studies and then the to be determined? Because this looks like very ambitious, like there's a lot of studies.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Right.
I'm not saying that we're necessarily gonna do all of these.
No, I know that. I'm curious about the timeline, what you foresee over time.
I mean, as far as Colonial Drive.
Not Colonial Drive, because that's right at the top of the
Yeah,
list,
there's
and that's what we're
studies.
talking about now.
Oh, in
I'm
terms of
talking about-
resolving
there's
all
a
these
lot of-
issues? Oh,
I'm
that
just
could
saying,
take-
what's
that
your-
could take years. I mean, we're just gonna try and attack.
I
the top
totally understand that, but
priorities.
you had figures for the next few, and it's just, you know, since you have figures for them, you must have gotten some kind of estimates.
Yeah, those are the ones we'd like to do in the next few years.
Right, so my question, and maybe it's a concern, is that those are estimates that may or may not be valid when you go to actually do it. And so I don't trust these numbers. Colonial Drive, I'm all on board with that, you know?
Yeah,
I'm just, because you included this as a thing.
yeah, I mean, those are the numbers we have, those are estimates we have at this time, yeah.
Right.
These numbers.
We talking 2 years, 5 years, 10, I mean, I don't even buy green bananas, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. what's going on. So I'm just trying to get an idea.
I see what you're saying. I mean, all I can say is these 4 that you see numbers for, we want to tackle them in the next few years as soon as we can.
Okay, it's land is still Colonial Drive, right there at the top. I'm voting yes. But, yes?
Yes.
Wait, is Dan raising his hand?
Dan is on a call. Dan.
Oh,
No, no, I'm good.
I did raise my hand. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So, you know, with respect to the other projects, you know, we are constantly looking for money, you know, to advance those. What Eric said was true, that the brick grants all dried up because of the federal government. The state historically doesn't do a lot with flood mitigation, and that's part of the problem. I don't know if we're going to be able to get in from the state or what's coming next. We do need to move along with these projects. And of course, those top 2 are Colonial Drive and the culvert. But I think we can pretty much do one at a time. So we're starting with this, and I think we're going to see if we can get money for the next one, because it's a bigger chunk of cash, right? It's a bigger deal. Probably next year sometime. Love to look at it. But again, we're trying to be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar by trying to find money available through any kind of grant we can get a hold of. And I'm certainly hoping that flood mitigation grants, you know, come back. I think part of this was the administration, the federal administration was looking at FEMA and trying to make it more of a emergency, you know, management, like showing up, versus mitigation organization. So we're hoping that money still comes our way. So right now, we're doing the best we can by moving this along with the first project.
But still, I don't, you know, respectfully, I'm just trying to get, like you're saying, we're trying, we're hoping we're trying. And I just want to get like a year down the road where we're always looking for money. I always have. We're always looking for money. And then again, Colonial Drive, that's the done deal. We're going to do that. But then it's
Right.
60, 75, 30,000. And I just want to know, are you saying in the next year or so, in 2 years? I'm just a little confused.
Well, honestly, you know, Cindy, we haven't put it all out there because there are so many things budget wise that make it difficult, right?
Exactly.
And I'm trying to be as realistic as possible to try to spend some time finding some grants. But yes, I would love us to have studies done, I would say within the next year, or say by the end of next year. I'd love to have those studies done because we have so many different, I shouldn't say that many now, but the big hotspots you see on the list. I think we're most concerned with those first 2.
But
And to go ahead.
is there not a way like to combine things or to try to get like a whole bunch of money at once for the various, am I crazy?
Well, we could. I mean, that's what we did. We were trying to do with brick grants, right? We were trying to get money for all that, but I'm just saying the money's hard to find right now.
Already left the barn, so I'm just saying, do we know what other? Because this seems to me like something that, I mean, those poor people in Texas, like if there's stuff that historically is happening, this just seems like there should be.
Well, I would be happy, happy to sit down and talk to the Board of Finance then of a more comprehensive way
Let's do that.
to
Alright.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
I'd love to, yeah, but I'm just being straight. I'm trying to see if we can find something that would do this before we take it out of our own pocket.
okay, so I mean, it's just, this is a little diversion from Colonial, but yeah, all right, thank you.
Dan, while we have you on the call, maybe, I know we spoke and Cynthia was on the call, but can you go over, August 18th, I think was the big storm, right? You're going to have hundreds of people come out and say, oh, I got water in my basement. We need to have a study. Now, I understand this has been a problem since the
Yeah.
70s. What's going to stop us from having people line up in the door and say, I want 20 and I want 20? You know what I mean? So can you
Sure.
speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, and I completely understand that concern. Obviously, in the very beginning, I shared that. So part of it is the way that we've done this. So immediately after the August 18th storm, publicly, we spoke about, identifying different places around town where we've had drainage issues. And August 18th was a place where a lot of things flooded that would never flood. It's a 1 in 1,000-year storm. But we do have all these other ones that are routine, and those really got hammered. Colonial Drive being one, Saxon, down near Sealy Street, like some of these places really had significant flooding. So we use this as an opportunity now publicly to go out and say, we're going to do an overall look at the town. And we did, piece by piece. We looked at all these different places, and we looked at what historically had, I would say, bigger issues, sort of like Saxon, like they spoke about it recently. Now, when we did that, we also mapped out every basement pump out. So we knew where there's issues that have historically had problems with, but those aren't things that we can necessarily focus on. And I think by doing this, I would say pragmatically, the whole point is that we're not going to be opening up just a willy-nilly. Somebody comes in and says, oh, August 18th, I had this problem. And that has happened, by the way. We have had people approach the town as early as last week asking for, money or issues with reimbursements from August 18th. And we don't do that. And the other part of this is we followed all the processes with FEMA to get relief where we could and things that qualified over that time. Now we're looking at a bigger picture. That's why we're doing this. So we're not going to turn around and just do a study because a particular basement's flooding. We took this holistically in the town, and then we started prioritizing based on, things that we could actually affect change and things that, I think we were reasonable, with respect to the cost. I think you brought up Saxon earlier. We looked to see if FEMA would buy those homes. It didn't qualify. So that, there's just not anything we can do right now there. So again, I mean, I think we've done this pragmatically. We've done it systematically. We've gone through and looked at each one of these things. We're not opening up the door again to just every Joe Blow in a basement pump out.
Okay.
And I would just add, and Dan, I would just add to what you said, all these are only involved town infrastructure. If there's areas of town that flood that have no town infrastructure, we gotta look at it. So,
Right, that's good.
That's,
Does
it's not
anybody?
just everybody who had a basement flood, it's just coming to us and we're putting them on list.
Okay.
Well, if you need an excuse, you can always say, Kissling went to the first selectman, Frank Clark, in 1975.
Yeah, right.
Years ago with this problem.
Most people don't know where town hall is.
But we talked to McCollum the first week.
Yeah.
It was chat before that, so.
I'm just laughing because that's when I graduated from high school. So, oh my God. Yeah.
Does any other board members have any questions?
73, so this issue's been out there since. as long as I've been
Happy
alive.
birthday. Karen, did you have anything, Karen?
Karen, do you have any
No.
comments?
No, I have nothing.
So would you like me to make a motion? We'll see how we get.
Yeah, let's see.
So I'd like to make a motion that we spend up to $20,000 and take it out of our CNR account to do an engineering study for the properties located, for the infrastructure located on Colonial Drive.
I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion, a second, any other discussion on it? With everybody's mind, or seeing that saying aye, let the record unanimous. That doesn't mean we're gonna fix it. We're gonna know.
Oh, no, that's the first step.
We're gonna know what's wrong.
Yeah,
But this officially gives you a chance.
this is a reason for hope.
Which is more than it cost of the second pipe 50 years ago.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Well,
You gotta start somewhere.
Exactly. So let's see what the
Thanks for
study
coming
says,
out.
and hopefully we get in line for some grants, and hopefully it's an easy fix. I think we know
And
it's not.
thank you for your detailed letter and description.
Yeah,
So
well,
that's very
it's
helpful.
not-
But I think
Yeah,
the
no.
study is important because you don't want to fix it at the intersection of Colonial and Walnut and create the problem to the next one. You want to get it all the way to the
That's
next.
what the study's for. All right,
We do
Thank you,
appreciate
everyone.
everybody coming.
thank you.
Normally, no one even shows up.
You can tell it's important and really, yeah, some, yeah.
I think.
But if you want to be impressed with town government, the comptroller is going to do his report next,
Yeah,
and it's just dazzling.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
something to stay
you
for.
really should stay.
But
But
look,
you know, Matt, the ironic thing about this whole situation is Matt Knickerbocker is the one that probably got the deepest in the water.
yeah.
And he has 15 years to take care of it.
Okay, now we're going off road.
All right, it's Brad's birthday, and it's his comptroller report today.
Yeah, this is
What better way to spend
wild.
my birthday?
Just.
Eric,
buckle-
sit, you don't need to go.
No, buckle your
Eric,
seatbelt.
this is a big one. He might not make it.
Oh
to
my
55.
This is like
Goodbye,
so,
Eric. Thank you.
so
Thank you for
worthy.
coming in.
So this is where we're at right now as of June 30th. The revenue numbers.
Now we'll clear the road.
Yeah,
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Let's give it a second.
I tried to sell it. It
I
was,
know. They're gonna go home and watch the YouTube.
Good night, Jay.
Better.
Yeah, yeah.
good to see you. Jay streaming.
I'm out. Thank you. Happy
What?
birthday,
Everyone
Brian.
out.
Are we having cake? Mary, did you get
Yeah,
cake?
come
Yeah,
on
man.
now,
Oh,
cupcakes.
geez.
Going home for cupcakes with my family.
Oh, cupcakes. That's more important.
All right.
God, Brad.
So this is where we're at as of the other day when I did this report for June 30th. We're still going to be getting bills for the next 2 months, so the expense side will be changing more. The revenue side shouldn't change greatly. But right now, revenue, we're $2.5 million more than budget. That is without the $500,000 from the tax stabilization fund. They're just here for the fire commission next.
Yeah.
So as we talked a little bit about last month, at some point before we finalize the audit, which will be months from now, I'll meet with the chairman, the first selectman, and we'll kind of have a discussion about what we want to do with the tax stabilization fund. If we want to pull from it and have this number go up to $3 million, or if we want to leave the tax stabilization fund there, not use it this year.
Didn't we make a motion to use it? So now we have to use it or no?
No, so you
Oh,
made
this
it.
is this, yeah.
So you made, the town did all the things they need to do to be able to use it. I could make the argument that if we don't need it, we don't necessarily have to draw on it. And let's leave the 500,000 there, so we're not
Mhm.
living hand to mouth a little bit with it.
Yeah.
Which is what my
It was
thought is
part of the
right now.
revenue, but that doesn't mean we need to fill that line.
I thought that a vote made it mandatory to pull that. Yes.
We'd have to look at it, and maybe town council would have a different opinion on that, but right now, I
Did you
view
just
it
say
as a
town
revenue line.
council?
Not town council,
Oh,
town attorney.
Okay.
legal
council, I thought you meant the mayor.
No,
of
no,
council.
no,
I thought you were changing our form of government.
No.
I'm sorry.
town attorney.
What was the cause of the increase?
So if you look at on here, we budgeted $650,000 worth of interest. We've collected just under $2.6 million. So of the 2.5, 2 million of it's interest. The other thing is property tax. We budget 98.6. If you look at Paula's numbers that we're at 99.16. The property tax number on the bottom here is like 101. That's because of supplementals and other things. So tax revenues, 1.4 million. So between the interest and that, and then when you take away the tax stabilization we haven't funded yet, that's pretty much where we're at. You know, other things are up. That one's up a little bit, that one's down a little bit, you know? So that's the revenue side. On the expense side, I haven't done the allocation to some of the things for water to sewer yet. So some of these things that look like they're over or tight will come down a little bit. Like town insurance right now looks like we're $8,800 to the good. I haven't booked the water and sewer portion, so that's gonna get even better. Public Works right now is over some, so, you know, I'd have to look at what is driving that piece of it. Check this now. And I haven't booked the journal entry for the CNR for $1 million yet, or the paramedic. The paramedic, I just got to do the 375 that was budgeted. The CNR, Nick tells me we're gonna move the whole million, so right now I'm gonna tell you we're moving the whole million, but we won't really know until we get all the bills. But that is the plan.
Can I just pull a number out while
Yeah.
we're on the expenditures?
Yeah.
For the police department, we budgeted 6.2 million, right? And they only spent 6. So it's it's $270,000.
Yeah, so there's,
So, but what's coming in that would bring that like either over budget or
so,
spend all of the allocated?
so one of the big pieces with that, especially since so much of their is salary, when we went to bi-weekly, the way the bi-weekly fell out is we did like a June 23rd, and then we didn't do June
So
30th.
there's a payroll cycle going.
So there's at least 1 week of payroll that I have to book at some point. But I gotta look to see, I gotta talk to the auditors that, because they always move a part of like accrued payroll. So, but I gotta move at least 1 week of it.
So you think it's gonna be pretty neutral or pretty even?
Yeah, it should get much closer because 1 week of police payroll is probably 150 grand or whatever it is.
The reason why I mentioned just that and it popped out is every time it's budget season, we always have a debate about overtime and playing the shell game.
Yeah.
But if there's 100,000 left, it seems like that argument is foolish in the middle of February. If we're gonna be to the plus 100,000 or even 75,000.
Yeah, I don't know what the final numbers are. I don't know if they're waiting on, like, I think their capital is mostly spent, but they could have a contract that they're waiting for.
He might have bought a piece of equipment. And the invoice Bobby Dibble was famous for.
Well, but we're right there, you know what I mean?
So just so you know, the July 3rd payroll for police was $314,000.
Oh.
So if we take half of that, that's 160-ish,
Take a
Over
quarter.
half of it.
you know, like, so, that's a big piece of it. I'm looking at just whatever else is. Like they're under budget right now in equipment and supplies, right? $8,900. It's probably something that's on order that hasn't come in yet. That's 1,200.
So it'd be the same thing for Park and Rec where their summer programs are like probably front loaded and
Park and Rec, again, it's 1 week of payroll could, because of the time of year, could be a big number for them. She also has some equipment stuff that she waits till the end of the year to order, because you want to make sure it's stuff she needs, but like if something breaks that she needs more, she's got to fix that first. So that's what we preach with the department heads too. Anything that you don't need to order, you wait towards the end of the year, because the last thing you guys want to hear is you replace something that you needed, but wasn't necessarily broken in March, and now something broke in May, and we're coming back asking for money. So we do a lot of preaching of that to the department heads of like, you wait for until you absolutely need it, or until you absolutely know you have money to pay for it.
Right.
see the light. Yep.
Yeah. So, IT still has a ton of money in it. Some of it is we're running with one IT person instead of two. Now we have 1.5, because that was the budget change for July 1. And I know, talking to the IT person today, there's like a $15,000 to $20,000 server we need. The question is going to be, is it a 25 purchase or a 26 purchase? You know, but some of that's going to be how else the rest of the school ends up. We need to replace it. The other one's end of life, but it's a matter of, can we afford to do it in 25? And if we can't, when it has become an absolute need for 26. You
I'm sorry,
know,
Brett, what was that dollar amount for the server? How
I
much?
think 15 to 20. He's getting quotes today. I saw him in the hallway and between my many meetings today, and he mentioned it.
And when whoever did the IT budget,
Yeah.
did they predict they're going to need that?
Yeah,
Or
so
they
it's,
just put 100,000 and use what they need?
no, it's every year IT has equipment replacement budget.
They
So-
look and say, okay, I'm gonna need
Yeah,
this.
like they have a life cycle of all the servers. Servers are a good example of like Microsoft or Dell or whoever at some point says, we don't support this anymore. And then typically what we do is go, all right, it's still in pretty good shape. Yeah, they don't support it anymore. They say it's end of life, but it's not necessarily end of life for us.
You're taking a risk, yeah.
But, you know, it is a calculated risk with a $15,000 piece of equipment that lasts 7 to 8 years. If we get another year, in essence, you just bought $2,000 more out of that equipment. Knowing full well that you might have to scramble if something really bad, you know, like it's a balancing act.
Cynthia, did you have something?
No, I'm good.
And one of the big goods that we know is rock solid right now is debt services, $213,000 under budget because we did the refinancing. So that one's done. But yeah, a lot of these numbers will drop drastically when we do some of the payroll stuff. But if you look right now, of the $2.9 million outside of the Board of Ed, because the Board of Ed's going to spend every dollar of it. We know $1 million is CNR, 375 is the funding of the paramedic program. And we know we're going to still get more legal bills. Legal bills usually lag 2 to 3 months. I know there's more utility bills coming in, but utilities right now is over by $4,000.
But you thought it was gonna be much
I-
worse than that.
Yeah, but so my fear, I'm optimistic that my $500,000 problem is a $200,000 problem.
That would have been a big problem.
You know,
Remember a couple of years ago, your face was as green as your shirt when you had an $800,000 problem.
that was not a big deal.
No, you look stressed.
You talk about July 9th of that year, I can tell you exactly what I did. I stressed all day and went and played mini golf.
Cynthia and I went like this, Brad, how you gonna fix it?
Yeah, just push it away.
How's that solar farm doing?
Right.
So I think what I'll do, like in
Oh, you
years
didn't hear
past,
me. You
I
didn't hear
did.
me.
I just hate the solar farm.
You hate it.
I think what I'll do for our August meeting, I'll give you a July comptroller report, which will be boring because there's not much in it. I'll give you
Okay.
June
I like boring.
until we kind of get, come like September, it doesn't change much.
So August, what, you're gonna have it all closed out for the year?
No, we won't have it all clubbed out. But I will keep giving you Junes. Like I started doing that one year when I was green, as John likes to point out. Because I do think it does paint the picture of, you know, we show the bills that are coming
Where we're
in.
trending, right? Right.
A lot of the bigger stuff we should know because we did the POs. It's the utilities that we have no control over of, you know, like the electricity just flows. And with it being a cooling season, like you could get some big bills and, you know, Eversource called the other day saying they had a problem with gas readings and the bills are gonna be delayed. You know, I don't know why,
I think it's done.
you know, so, but we'll keep everybody updated.
Okay,
Cynthia, you like to make a motion?
sure. I'll make a motion to accept our monthly controller's report as Brad presented it.
Could you make it in the minutes that it's his birthday today? Part of the.
On
motion?
his birthday.
Take that out. So,
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
fine.
Aye.
Saying aye.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody. And thank you for accommodating John and I's schedule here on Wednesday, instead of yesterday.